Spring Garden Road in Halifax is one of my favorite places. I don't know why, really. There's some good pubs, there's some good restaurants, there's some interesting shopping. There's always a lot of people, there's always a lot of traffic, there's always a lot of noise, and even though I love spending my time in the woods and I love my small town, there's an energy. There's an energy to Spring Garden Road that I also greatly appreciate. My name is Ed Trevors. I'm an Anglican priest in the Diocese of Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. I get to serve in the beautiful town of Shelburne, Nova Scotia, in the awesome parish of Church Shelburne that sits on the ancestral and on the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I give thanks for you every day. I thank God for the time that you're spending with me. I thank God for the prayers that you're offering on my behalf. I thank God for the love that you show me. And I thank God especially for all of that you're teaching me and sharing with me in the comments and in your emails. I want to share with you a story. It takes place on Spring Garden Road a couple of years ago. And while the story will take me 3 or 4 minutes to tell, probably only took 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds to witness. Literally, it took me, I watched this whole thing happen in the time that it took me to walk maybe 150, 200 feet. There wasn't a lot of people on Spring Garden Road that day. I was on my way to the library. I was coming around a corner from my hotel. And just up the street, there's a McDonald's. And in front of the McDonald's, as there normally is, there was a panhandler. Now, this was a cold day. And as much as I love Spring Garden Road, it's a miserable place to be on a cold, windy day because it doesn't matter if the wind's only blowing about 5 knots. It's going to blow 40 knots down Spring Garden Road. If it's 5 degrees outside, it's -5 down Spring Garden Road. And there was a guy panhandling, and he wasn't dressed for the conditions. He wasn't dressed for the weather. But there he was. Then a fella caught my eye, and he was walking up towards the panhandler. And he had a small dog with him, walking beside him. He had a backpack on. He had a toque on. He had a scarf wrapped around his neck, wrapped around his face. Big, thick winter coat. And he walked up to the man and stood in front of him. He lit a cigarette and he gave it to him. Then he took off his hat. And he put his hat on the panhandler's head. Then he took off his scarf. His big, long scarf, and he wrapped it around the panhandler's neck gently and his face. Took his backpack off, set it on the ground, took his winter coat off. Put it over the shoulders of the panhandler. Maybe said a few words. Put his backpack back on, and then him and his dog walked on. This guy was obviously another homeless gentleman. Halifax has a high population, a high number of people who are homeless. On this cold day, I want to say it was like March, maybe April, this guy took off what was protecting him from the weather, protecting him from these winter conditions. And he gave it to someone else. I don't know if they knew each other. But he gave it to this other guy. That was the single greatest example of what Christian love is supposed to be that I've ever witnessed. That was the closest thing to Jesus Christ that I have ever personally seen in my life. I don't know if I will ever see anything greater than that. The other day I talked about theology and about our experiences. That experience shaped me, shaped my theology. That day on Spring Garden Road, I saw Jesus. I saw Jesus in action, at work. You're going to notice a few things here. I didn't say I seen a Christian man doing all this stuff. His faith system is irrelevant to the conversation. Doesn't make a difference. Whoever he was the single greatest demonstration of the love of Jesus Christ and the love that you and I are all supposed to have for one another and for all the people out there in the world. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, and I pray that you will always know the peace of being in the Lord's presence. I pray that when people see you go into action, that they'll see the love of Jesus going into action. Amen.